Welcome to the California Hispanic Chambers of Commerce and Caltwater Digital Town Hall, Drought and Conservation. Before we begin, here are some housekeeping items. Please utilize the Q&A function on the bottom of your screen to submit questions to speakers and panelists if time permits. If you have any technical questions, please dial 916-444-2221. Again, the phone number is 916-444-2221. Our first conversation will focus on why conserving water is important and what resources water providers like Caltwater can offer you and your members to conserve water, including programs to upgrade to more water-efficient appliances, find and fix leaky pipes, replace lawns with drought-tolerant alternatives, and more. We thank you all for joining, even if you're not in the Caltwater service territory, to learn how to access programs offered by your water service provider. Please welcome to the webinar stage the CHC Vice Chairwoman of the Board, Veronica Corona.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you all for being here. My name is Veronica Corona. I am a small business owner. I own a janitorial service company based out of Los Angeles, but today I'm representing as Vice Chairwoman of the Board for the California Hispanic Chambers of Commerce. We represent the interests of over 115 local chambers and business associations throughout the state of California. And I want to thank you all for joining us today. I'm sure we all have busy schedules, so we appreciate your time. I'd like to welcome you to the first of several conversations we'll be having with the California Water Service to discuss the importance of reliable and affordable water services for businesses, and in particular, Latino-owned businesses. In spite of the recent rainfall and snow, California remains in drought, and conserving water is critical. As a matter of fact, I was like, this morning before getting on a webinar, I was making sure I wasn't wasting too much water, even in the shower. I was thinking of all the water we need to conserve. And in reality of climate change, it is that we will face more frequent cycles of droughts and floods. So it is important that our businesses take proper steps now to prepare for the uncertain water future. We know there are a lot of questions about how your business can conserve water, save money, and prepare for future droughts. So we partnered up with the California Water Service to help answer some of those questions. Caltwater serves about 2 million Californians in more than 110 communities across California, from Chico in the north of Palos Verdes Peninsula and in the south. I am pleased to introduce Mr. Ken Jenkins, Caltwater's Chief Water Resource Sustainability Officer. Wow, that's like a big title. I wonder if he's like controlling what the water we use, right? To share more important information on how Caltwater is helping lead the way in water conservation and drought preparedness. Ken, the screen is yours. You can take it away.
Great, thanks so much, Veronica. Appreciate it. So it is a pretty long title, but my teams are responsible really for 5 key areas. First is water supply. So across all of our service areas in California, responsible for ensuring we have a reliable source of supply for all of those communities. All of our conservation programs, so those are the programs, many of which we'll be talking about today, that you can utilize. Water loss, so that's loss on our distribution side, leaks, those types of things. Our drought response program, and climate change. So those are some of the key areas that we're responsible for. What I can tell you is our experience as the second largest retail water provider in California does make us unique and differentiates us as really the premier water service provider in the state. We serve every type of community, from large to small, urban to rural, affluent to low income. But behind it all, we believe everyone should have access to water that is safe, clean, reliable, and affordable. So we have a responsibility to understand the risks of climate change and work to mitigate them, so we can provide a reliable source of water for our customers, even in the face of anticipated climate-driven impacts. We take a holistic approach to water efficiency and conservation, and are committed to not just meeting, but surpassing all regulatory requirements. Here's some of what we're doing in the communities we serve to prepare for drought and continue leading the way in conservation. First, the conservation programs we've implemented since 2011 will save more than 20 billion gallons of water. In order to ensure our water resources remain reliable and affordable, we've developed strategies and made investments to help minimize water loss and expand our water supplies, as well as hardening them against the threat of wildfire, like creating defensible spaces around our facilities to reduce the chances of fire spreading. Caltwater has also completed our climate change risk assessment and adaptation framework that will guide our company's adaptation strategies to address risks to our system. In order to help our customers conserve water, we've invested more than $65 million in programs like installing high efficiency water fixtures for low income customers, free leak repairs, and incentives to remove lawns and replace sprinklers with more effective alternatives. Our programs have been so successful that between 2000 and 2020, our customers reduced their water use by 30%. In particular, our investments in infrastructure will be crucial to preparing for an uncertain water future. For example, our main replacement program is critical to reducing water loss, GHG emissions, and ensuring an efficient system. Understanding that we will continue to face more frequent and intense droughts, I'd like to introduce Kevin McCusker, who can share more information about the resources available to business owners in our service areas.
Thank you, Ken. So indeed, my name is Kevin McCusker, and I'm the manager of community affairs for California Water Service. And I think it's important to note that not only is it important for each of us as individuals in California to cut back on water use, it's important for our businesses to do so as well. And in order to support our commercial and business customers, we have a variety of programs, rebates, that can help your business reduce its water consumption. And in the end, that actually reduces your water bill, which is a double benefit. And rebates that are available to your businesses may vary by our service districts. As Veronica mentioned at the beginning, we serve communities from as far north as Chico to as far south as the Palos Verdes Peninsula. And we have a wide range of rebates and programs that can make it easier to save water for your business and lower your water bill in the process. So we've got rebates to help replace older, inefficient fixtures such as toilets or urinals, resources that can help you replace outdoor water consumption or reduce outdoor water consumption, things like replacing your spray sprinklers with more efficient rotary sprinklers, drip irrigation systems, smart irrigation controllers. We'll even pay for your business to replace turf and lawns with more drought tolerant alternatives, which is kind of a creative approach that we have. And Calwater is also happy to come out to your business. We can check for leaks to help you reduce water waste that you might not even be aware of. And that's all things that we can provide to our customers. And we're happy to work with your business to construct programs to help you reduce your water bill in a more customized fashion. You just have to give us a call. We're happy to sit down and work with you to ensure that your business is able to grow and thrive in a meaningful way while also being able to reduce your water use. More information can be found at our website, which is calwater.com. And there's a tab at the top for conservation. You can click the conservation tab and there's a host of information there, or a wealth of information there specific to us. There's also, it's a clearinghouse too. There's links to other resources as well. And I think it's important to touch on that. Obviously, the California Hispanic Chambers of Commerce represents such a broad constituency. Not everybody is a Calwater customer. There are other resources available. I'm not going to claim to be an expert in the other resources available, but I can point people in the right direction if you're not a Calwater customer. SaveOurWater.org is a state site that has a lot of tips and state-sponsored rebate programs. You should also contact your own water provider directly, either through their website or by giving them a call, which can help you find some localized water rebates and programs. There's also conservation tips available through the Department of Water Resources, water.ca.gov, the State Water Resources Control Board, which is waterboards.ca.gov. There's watereducation.org. There's a wealth of information out there if you're not a Calwater customer that you can track down and find out tips or get access to rebates and programs that are applicable to your business. But if you are a Calwater customer, we really encourage you to check out calwater.com/conservation, or just go to calwater.com and click on the conservation tab, and you can find all of the rebates and programs that are available to you there. And thank you so much for your time. I'm going to kick it back over to Veronica and see if we've got an opportunity for any Q&A.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you all for all that great information. And I am going to go read some of the questions that I saw on our chat. And the first one we have is, for businesses with ice makers, are there any tips for saving water and money? Ooh, that's a great question. Ken or Kevin, who would like to take that question?
Yeah, I'll jump in. I would say that, depending on how old that ice machine is, I think it might be potentially ready for replacement. I would look for programs specifically that target restaurants and ice making machines in particular. We happen to have a customized rebate program for commercial customers where we identify what the projected water savings are of whatever business is going to replace, and then we base the rebate off of those water savings. So it's really flexible, and can really, anything that saves water can be utilized as part of that program. So I would certainly look at opportunities to do that to help defray costs.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you, Kevin. And Antonio, I hope you got some great information on those ice makers, and you can possibly qualify for a rebate. So that would be amazing. We have another question saying, do you see another ticket enforcement for water usage coming this summer? Who's gonna take that question, Ken or Kevin?
Yeah, so Kevin, I don't know if you want to add on anything to what I'm gonna cover, but I can tell you in our service areas, assuming that we're talking about kind of waste of water provisions that are currently in place, our preference is to work with our customers prior to enforcement of any type of restriction, like is in place currently. And we do have the ability to apply monetary penalties to it. But what we find is that in many cases, I would say in most cases, our customer either doesn't know whatever is happening, right? Sprinkler system, people aren't usually, if they're running their sprinklers overnight, generally aren't seeing that there's a broken sprinkler, there's an issue. We certainly encourage people to take a look at that and inspect their system periodically. But they may not know what's going on, or they may not know how to fix it. And so just reaching out to people to have that conversation generally addresses those types of situations. Certainly if a customer just chose not to address a situation, then we would move into other alternatives, but that's certainly not the path we typically go.
Thank you.
And if I could piggyback on that just a little bit, Veronica, I think what's important to note is that penalties, they can be effective, but penalties work best in response to a situation, right? If you have a drought emergency, penalties might become necessary. But our interest is engendering long-term changes in people's behavior. And penalties may not be the best mechanism for that. Education is the best mechanism for that.
Absolutely.
And that's why we're very hesitant to go down that road if we don't have to. And it's better to take a long-term approach, help people understand the impact of their behaviors, and help them change. And Ken was mentioning this, and I see it a lot myself. People may not even be aware of things they can do, or that their sprinkler head is broken or is leaking. Another great example is, for those of us who are old enough to remember VCRs, when you get up in the morning and there's been some kind of power surge in your house and you used to see the VCR blinking, right? The time was off on your VCR. That could happen to your sprinkler irrigation controller. And people don't know it. And their irrigation controller resets to default, and their irrigation system goes on at a time that they did not intend. Things like that, people just aren't aware of. And the way that you can help with that is through education. Penalties don't serve a purpose in a scenario like that.
Thank you for that, Kevin, because we don't know what we don't know, right? So sometimes we just need a little bit of a warning before we have to pay some enforcement, a ticket being enforced on us. So thank you for asking those questions, answering that question. Earlier, I think it was Ken that mentioned about rebates for businesses. Can you elaborate a little bit more? And are there separate rebates for businesses and homes?
There are. Some of them overlap. I think some of the more traditional ones overlap. I mean, rebates for indoor devices like high efficiency toilets, for clothes washers. If you have a laundromat or some other need for having a clothes washer in a business, we offer that for both residential and commercial. Specifically for commercial businesses, we offer also indoors a rebate for high efficiency urinals, but really the shift is being made to outdoor, where we think the most savings can be achieved for most of our customers. And we have a host of things available there. I mean, if you want to remove your turf, we have a rebate for that. If you want to convert from sprinklers to drip irrigation, we have a rebate for that. If you want to install more high efficient sprinklers, we have a rebate for that. And then we have our landscape tune-up program, smart landscape tune-up program. Kevin talked a little bit about this. We will actually come out to the home or the business and do a full inspection of the irrigation system. Based on the recommendations from our contractor, they'll come back out and make the changes that are recommended that we approve. That could be anywhere from fixing leaks in your irrigation system, installing a weather-based irrigation controller, any of those other devices I mentioned. That's all available at no charge to our customers. So really the purpose here is to make your landscape, your business as efficient as we can make it.
Thank you, Ken. And here I see some questions that are kind of related to what we're talking about. There's one question says, are there any programs available for recreational businesses that target kids, like pools, slides, and etc.? And it was related because you talked about outdoors, and we have another person that asked, are there any type of conservation programs for tree and plant nurseries? But I'd like to take the pool question first. Are there any programs for recreational outdoor activities like pools and water slides?
So any of those types of programs would fall under that customized incentive program that I'd mentioned. We base that off the amount of water savings. So we have our standard set of rebates, which have dollar amounts associated with them, the ones I had just mentioned. But this customized incentive program really allows us to expand the universe of devices and things that we can actually assist financially with. And so, for instance, for a pool cover, that doesn't fall under a standardized program that we offer, but we would identify based on evaporation, the size of the pool, what the expected water savings would be, and can provide an incentive for something like that. So it really adds a lot of flexibility in the areas that we can assist.
Awesome. Now let's go back to this. Are there any type of conservation programs for tree and plant nurseries?
So again, I think to Kevin's earlier point, I think this would be a situation we'd love to come out to a business, take a look at what's there, see what type of program we can put together to assist. It may not be a traditional program. It may be along the lines of irrigation at a facility like that. So it may fall under some of those more standardized programs. But there are very, very few devices and activities that people can do that we really can't provide an incentive for if it's going to save water. And so we've designed our program specifically to be able to do that, knowing that especially businesses, homes are very homogeneous. They tend to be the same type of devices. Businesses are very unique. Every business is unique. And we've designed a program that allows us to identify the uniqueness of each of those businesses and provide support.
Okay, great. Well, I'm sure that you will lead us to in the right direction, that some of our participants can direct their questions or call somebody to come assess their business or home, right? Is there something like that in place? Great.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a key of what Ken's talking about is within that commercial subset. I'm going to jump back for 1 second. The question about residential versus business, there are somewhat distinct rebate programs. And when you go to our site, there'll be a drop down. You'll pick whether you're seeking residential or commercial or business rebate programs. But we have great flexibility within that commercial program to customize those. So give us a call and we'll come out and visit the business. There are businesses that use water it's processed water for the business itself, right? You need the water to actually run the business. And so that's what Ken's talking about in that customized approach. We have to be able to come in and take a look, understand the nature of the business, and understand the potential for the water savings that can be realized in order to determine the best course of action and what type of rebate is appropriate. But we really are, I've seen it in action going back to the 2015 drought, really are very flexible and willing to work with the business owners to determine the best course of action and what's the best fit for the business while still realizing the goal of water savings.
Well, thank you for that, Kevin, because that kind of leads us into the next question. So somebody mentioned if there was a rebate or a program for replacing a full plumbing, like an office building that's being redone. Does that qualify under what we just talked about?
If it saves water and we can document water savings from the work, then absolutely it would. And it would just simply be based on the amount of water savings that we would project based on whatever's being done at that location. Yeah, absolutely.
Great. That's good to know. Now, here's another question. I think it kind of falls along the same lines. Are there programs for large dump cells like dorms, colleges, or apartment buildings? Do you have a special program for that, or does that fall under business and residential as well?
Yeah, so that would fall under our more traditional program. Most of those changes for those types of locations are going to be your high efficiency toilets, your clothes washers, those types of things, high efficiency shower heads. That's all part of our standard program and can be application is the application process is relatively easy to run through. We'll run through it with you to make sure that gets done correctly, and we can get those rebates back to you as quickly as possible.
That's amazing. Thank you for that information. So I think this question is aligned with everything we've been talking about because they want more information. So you'll both mention that we can go to your website, and in your website, we can acquire more information as to have an inspection and how we can qualify for rebates. Is that correct?
Yeah, Kevin, do you want to maybe walk through that quickly again, just in terms of website and location?
Thank you. And Kevin, I want to add, they want more information as how do they get access. So I'm sure we will take care of that on our CHCC side, but if you can elaborate a little bit more for the last three questions that are kind of all linked together, right? They want to know where they can get more information and the links and all that great information.
Yeah, I think I'm going to try and intuit what you were saying. I was having some bandwidth issues there. And so my audio was breaking up because I was trying to grab the links on my other screen. I promised everybody I wouldn't look at the other screen during the webinar, and I did it anyway. Calwater.com is the where you want to go. You can type it in directly, calwater.com/conservation, and you can bookmark that so that you can always go back and review things. But if you just go to calwater.com, simpler to remember, and then there's a set of tabs at the top. You want to select the conservation tab, and then from there, not only will you be able to access within your service area, specific rebates and programs for residential and business. There's also a clearinghouse there of links to other resources and tips and best practices, et cetera. The other ones that I was mentioning, I'll reiterate those for everybody as well. SaveOurWater.org is a state site. They've got tips and programs available there. If you're not a Calwater customer, that could be of interest and value to you. There's also the State Department of Water Resources, which has some conservation tips. It's probably not the type of rebate programs that most of us would be looking for, but certainly conservation tips are available there. That's water.ca.gov. The same with the State Water Board. You can go there just for tips and advice, waterboards.ca.gov. And there's also an interesting site that's just called watereducation.org. Again, these are all places where you can go and kind of get advice, get tips if you're not a Calwater customer. But I personally believe that if you are a Calwater customer, the best resource is to go to calwater.com and click that conservation tab, and you can get in there and look at all of those things. Make sure you're looking at the types of devices or plant materials that qualify before you before you embark on any purchases. You don't want to get yourself in a situation where you've made a purchase hoping it would qualify for a rebate and it doesn't fall within the parameters. But the information is pretty detailed and not in an intimidating way. It's simple to use. And I would just dive in there and start looking around. And you can always call us if you have questions.
Evan, I'd add one more thing to that. And for larger purchases, especially, we require pre-qualification for anything that's going to be over $5,000. Really, that's to ensure that we have adequate funding available in the program at the time that purchase is going to occur, and that we hold that funding in place while the customer is going through the process. The last thing we want to happen is for a customer to make a large purchase thinking that they're going to be able to qualify for a rebate if those dollars aren't necessarily going to be available at the time they do that. So if you're going to do something on a larger scale, more than $5,000, please contact us, let us know, and we can work through that.
Now, so one last question. How long does it take between the time I go online and go through that whole process and get an inspection out to come to me?
Yeah, we're typically out within a month, usually before that, to go ahead and do the inspection. If there's something that's an emergency situation where there's a leak and you're just unable to fix it, in the irrigation system, for instance, we'll certainly try to expedite that. It's an extremely popular program, and so we do get out on a kind of first come, first serve basis, and that usually happens within I would say a 2 to 4 week period, just depending on working through the scheduling with our contractor and your availability.
Thank you for that. I think that kind of wraps up our question. One last thing: are you guys in the Calwater cover Modesto?
Modesto, unfortunately, Modesto is not part of our service territory. I saw that question pop up. So for that person, I really encourage you to check with your local water provider in Modesto. I don't know who that is, whether it's the municipality or somebody else. So I would check that should be on your water bill, and check into that. And then also check some of those sites that I mentioned before. SaveOurWater.org in particular is a good starting spot if you're not a Calwater customer.
Thank you for that, Kevin. I will definitely check SaveOurWater.org. And lastly, in the website that was put in the chat for Calwater, is there information? Can you guide us where we can go to see about the programs and rebates? Is that in there somewhere? I think you mentioned it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if you, I see the website, the URL is in the chat.
Yes.
Right? So you're going to be looking at the screen here in front of you. In the upper right-hand corner, there's some tabs. There's a tab there for conservation. That's the tab that you want to click on. That's
Okay.
going to take you to that conservation page. And from there, you're going to find a set of sub links where you can look for conservation tips, other drought resources, and in particular, rebates. That's where you want to look. You want to, if you're interested in the smart irrigation tune-up program that Ken referenced, there's you're going to get access that from there. And you're also going to be able to access, you know, the any additional information for any of the other programs in which you're interested.
Well, thank you. I think this wraps up all our questions. So I want to thank both Ken Jenkins and Kevin McCusker. And this is not our last conversation. We have a continuous series to discuss about with Caltwater to discuss more about water and business issues. So please keep an eye out for our next webinar. We will be discussing on how to prepare your business for natural disasters like wildfires, and how Caltwater is preparing their systems to ensure that they continue serving their customers and in the event of a crisis. So once again, we want to thank you for participating today. Thank you to our friends from Caltwater again. Thank you for answering everybody's questions. And thank you to our audience for all your questions and for joining us this morning out of your busy schedule. So we appreciate your support, and I wish you a wonderful rest of your day.